Okay.
Hey, aloha mai kako, talofa hafade. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar, Supporting the Vitality of the Samoan Language in honor of AANHPI Month. My name is Paige Okamura. I'm Native Hawaiian, born and raised in Wailua on the island of Oahu here in Hawaii, and I'm the training specialist for the ANA Pacific Region TTA Center. Today, we have a very special and unique opportunity to hear from 3 trailblazing leaders in the Samoan community who make great efforts to keep the language alive, both in Samoa and in the various Samoan diaspora communities across the US, and in turn, helping to support the mental, physical, and spiritual vitality of their Samoan communities. And at this time, I'd like to hand it over to ANA Deputy Commissioner Hope McDonald Lonetree for her opening remarks. Mahalo, Hope.
Aloha and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for this very special webinar in honor of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Today's webinar is focused specifically on the vitality and importance of the language and culture of our Samoan cousins, featuring 3 highly esteemed leaders from the Samoan community to help us all deepen our awareness and understanding of their people and their worldview. In all the work that we do here at ANA and beyond, it is important for us to remember that we serve multiple communities. Please know that each community is unique in its culture and language, which is reflected in their needs and challenges. This webinar gives us an opportunity to better understand how the language of a people, the language of their home, serves as a protective factor central to their community's overall well-being. Today, over 200,000 Samoans live on the continental US in every ACF region and state, creating diaspora communities all over the continent. And as Indigenous and Native peoples, we know the importance of language to our individual and collective identity. We also know that struggles and detrimental effects on our Native communities when they become distant from their homeland. The guest speakers we have today who have all very graciously given up their time and their schedules to share the space with us today. Are all distinguished leaders in the Samoan community who make great efforts to keep their language alive, both in Samoa and in various Samoan communities across the US. Please join me in welcoming and thanking them for sharing their valuable knowledge with us today. Our languages are sacred. They help us maintain our well-being and our focus on the values that our people have had over the centuries. So please join me, and I appreciate you being here to listen to this important webinar. Thank you.
Mahalo, Hope. And to help give us some grounding perspective as to how this webinar about her homeland and language impacts our work is our very own Rosia Tavita Curry. Rosia currently serves as the Senior Program Specialist Team Leader for the Division of Program Operations at the Administration for Native Americans. Rosia has provided guidance and technical assistance on grants management to ANA recipients for over 10 years. Prior to joining ANA in 2007, she did outreach and education on ocean resources and protection for schools and villages in American Samoa. She's a proud graduate of the University of Hawaii and alumna of the East-West Center. And though she was born and raised as an island girl, her work at ANA has not only opened her eyes to the struggles and needs of all Native communities, but has also opened her heart to the resilience and determination of Native people. Rosia is just as dedicated to the health and well-being of our children and families and the work to fulfill ANA's vision that all Native communities are thriving. Thank you, Rosia.
Thank you, Paige. Solona le paia man mamalu, oe o mawhai o na whaatasi mai I le ne yaso. O paia sa mafainga o le a o leo o iai ne isala sa ongangana o na avea lea ma leanga, muso o leanga. E avea paia o le atua e lau ngā tasia ai I tātou. E momo pēo na si levi inga mar whawhetai I lo tātou tamā o I le langi. Mo lana pule whaasoifua o mawhai ai o na tātou wheloa I luma o nuu, ai le o tua o nuu. Ai ole a oa nga I loa I lo tātou mata upu I le nei aso. Tā alofa, what I just said in my native Samoan tongue is a traditional greeting to start off a gathering, as we usually do in Samoa. To begin with, I stated that I would not speak of the traditional salutations or fa'alupenga in reference to our chiefly families as we normally do, but we give thanks first to our Creator, our Heavenly Father, for His protection that we are able to come together today. And I would like to start us off with a prayer. Tatou tatalo. Lo mātou tamai o le langi, whawhitai mo le nea wanoa, whawhitai mo lo alofa, whamanianga, mapuipuinga I aso taitasi. Whaamole mole, whaamangalo ni o mātou se, foa I mawhauwhanga le lei, upu, ma le loto tele, Ia I mātou uma I mawhai ona whaasoa le tāua ma le o ngā o le ngangana Samoa. Mātou te manatua fo I a inga whaanoa noa. Ona o le whaalawe matu ia mai ana nafi le aonga Uvalde, Texas. Whaamawhanawhana I mātua o maa inga o loa mawhatia o na mawhatua o na mawhutanga ua motusia. Te sosoani whaamole mole I mawhai o na mātou ngā le lue whaatasi mo le manuia o tangata uma. Ia whaatino ma whaupu e tusa ai ma lo whinangalo. Ai le o mātou lava loto. Ilo suafa o mātou tatalo atua nei. Creator, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity, your love, blessings, and protection. Please forgive us of any wrongdoing. Help us, give us good thoughts, words, and the brave heart to share the importance of the Samoan language and culture. We also remember the tragic shooting yesterday in Uvalde, Texas, and ask for your comfort and strength to bring hope, peace, and courage to the families, friends, and communities for the loss of their loved ones. Help each one of us to work together for the benefit and well-being of all people, in actions and in words, so that your will may be fulfilled and not of our own. All these we pray in your precious and holy name. Amen. Amen. As a Samoan Pacific Islander and an ACF employee at ANA, I was invited to share my own personal story in relation to the importance of the Samoan language. I was born and raised in Samoa. Naturally, Samoan is my first language and English the second. Everything, mostly for me, was in Samoan. My Samoan community consisted of my home, both parents being Samoan and 4 siblings. My extended family, ainga, relatives, grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins, in-laws. My village, Pango Pango, the capital of American Samoa. My church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Satala. And the schools that I attended from pre-K all the way up to college. I first learned how to read in the Samoan language in my own home through reading the Samoan Bible. That was the only Samoan material or resource for me growing up. Every evening in Samoan villages, there is a village curfew for about 20 to 30 minutes. It is a time for families to come together, worship, and pray. In that time, my father would have each of us, my siblings, and I, to take turns reading verses from the Samoan Bible. Why is Samoan language important? To me, our language, Samoan language goes hand in hand with our culture and traditions. You can't have one without the other. When we speak culture in Samoan, we speak of respect, fa'aloalo, respect towards everyone and everything we do within the family, village, church, and community. It is part of my identity as a Samoan culture, honoring my ancestors and history. It is a part of life for me to pass on to my children, their children, and so forth. Language is an integral part of our culture, way of life. It's something I am very proud of. Why is it important to support the vitality of Samoan language? Working at ANA, I've come to learn of the social and economic challenges, especially language loss and the negative impact to other Native communities that their brothers and sisters, American Indian, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians have faced and continue to suffer because of language loss. I would not wish any of that on my own community or anyone else's for that matter. So I ask that we all try the very best that we can to support in keeping our native languages alive, including the Samoan language. Whawhetai, thank you.
Mahalo, Rosia. And now I'll be introducing our first esteemed panel member. We are going to hear from Keseta Okinaisa Paolo, the director of the Samoan Studies Institute at the American Samoa Community College. She received her bachelor, master's, and diploma of teaching in social sciences from Waikato University in New Zealand. She was the recipient of the ASCC Teacher of the Year Award for 2006 to 2007. She is a cultural expert and resource, published author, and has presented at numerous conferences on topics pertaining to Samoan culture and language, including the Samoan Language Symposium and this year's ANA Indigenous Program Conference. Please welcome Okinaisa Paolo.
Rosia started off with the story of the heart. And I'm finding it very hard to make the connection for the mere fact that that was very powerful and very Samoan and very correct from the Samoan perspective, that everything begins with our Almighty God. And forgive me if I'm going to go off track from what I have actually prepared myself to do. However, without further ado, Paige, can you please have my PowerPoint on, or they can see it? My first time on a weapon now. Okay. Oh, it's so late. When Rosia was talking about the salutations, which is always the appropriate protocol, and I just felt, oh my God, our spirits are connected. The photo you have for the PowerPoint, those are the Students Association for Fa Samoa here at the American Samoa Community College. And that is the launching of the Book of Salutations for America Samoa. And we were invited to perform the Ava ceremony. And this is one way whereby we have to keep at it no matter what. These students, for your information, are no longer really exposed to the typical Samoan setup of our Salfa Inga with the villages. But at least with the Institute, they are now able to have a lifetime experience of serving our government and the people in positions. And this was about 2 years ago where we had it. The issue with the language, like any given language in translation, I wanted something catchy. And this is what happens when you are first time on TV doing a webinar. So I wanted it to be catchy. And for Samoa Pea, it's easy to understand by Samoans what it means. That it means to keep going, keep going. Then I tried to make a catchy English translation, and that's the best I could come at it, is that, okay, keep at it Samoa. So that regardless that we are so small in number population wise, but we have to keep going. And that's the focus of what I'm going to share with you. So with my next slide, and now I'm reversing things, and this is being told that we were doing the inside out approach, and I'm thankful, very grateful for the opportunity to present. I am deeply honored and humbled. And at the same token, let this be then an opportunity for all of you who are listening in, that you can reach out to me if I can be of any assistance. And I am sincerely thankful for giving me your time so that we can continue to share our story. Now, Samoa, like any other traditional society, we have been around. You know, we are as old as the banyan trees and as young as the hills. And so when we look at Samoa from the academic component and where did the Samoans are, or even the Pacific Islands as a whole, okay, some 67,000 languages found in the Pacific. And according to the linguists and all that, is that we all belong to the Austronesian family of languages. The many theories of how the last frontier to be connected to the whole world, we have many, but you know, the typical that we accept today is that the Pacific Islands are from Southeast Asia, although there are many more, be it of the Romanticism theories that are around. But and this is what we tell the kids and our students. And then, of course, we emphasize also as to when did it actually start? I know for each island in the Pacific, their dates are different. But for us, Samoa, it was not until 1722 when we had the first explorer. And at the time, because we're oral traditional society where we didn't really go into the writing, thanks to the works of the missionaries, because that's when we start to have a written language. But everything was recorded orally. And so we would do this in songs and chants and whatnot. Forgive me, I have a very bad voice. I need to be drunk in order to say, but I'm going to give you an example. And it goes like this. Oroke wainalena na taunu u imanua ile tau sanga tasifitulua lua o ialena moale ngoa fa aingoa Samoa ole motu tangata fola ile vasa loloa. That's a Celine Dion version. That song is a Samoan song that actually in remembrance of Rokithin, who arrived here in Samoa in 1722. And then given also to Samoa the name of Navigator's Islands, because he was so impressed with these tiny canoes going out into the open oceans. And then, of course, there are other explorers that came on, and then they also give us some very nice labeling like Savage Islands and whatnot. But that's okay, you know, that's their perspective. But for us as Samoan, we're good with what we have, because if this is one way that it's very important for Samoans to be grounded in their story and their histories. So not until then, 1900, that we now have the independent state of Samoa, and we also have the American Samoa territories. Oral traditions, but this is also very vital, where we teach our students the ancient history of Samoa, and we go back to stories of our creations and to the many oral traditions whereby our values are embedded. And so when I teach Samoan history, I start off with the story of creation that we have. And there are a number of versions to it. But one of the things, though, that we do is that after explaining these many versions, and then he said, okay, now look, take away all those fancy words and whatnot. See if you can find the concepts that are very Samoan. See that if you can find things that explains why we are and where we're at today. So our traditions for us is something that I'm not going to go into the debate of the academics concerning the validity of our traditions. But as Samoans, there's no other way. It is valid and it has to be told. So on the next slide, and this is where we come in. If you want to know us today, go back to the past. Because then in that way, it will explain a lot. And it will definitely help you socially, economically, physically, and spiritually. Because Samoans, in my own humble opinion, are not very religious people, but they are very spiritual people that they can feel. So I think a very good example of it is that how, with Rosia today and how she started off, and it seems like she already knew what I'm going to present about, but that's the spiritual connection. So when we look into this, we try to make the students like, okay, land in Samoa is Fanua. Fanua is your stomach. It's your blood. And they need to understand this. They also need to know that, especially with the students that I deal with, that some of them they come into my class and they're kind of very arrogant. And so I put them into place and I said, no, you are never better than the trees that surround you. Because from the Samoan perspective, you are part of the environment, and that's how we were created. No one is above, no one's below. Everything that's alive, and you have to have that respect, and you have to ask if you need. So then I go into stories like Plata and explain as to how this Polynesian hero, be it of Plata, if it's of Kupe, it's of Maui, explain to them that despite being a hero, our environment and our values will keep you grounded. In the eyes of the people is that, yeah, okay, you're a hero, but no, you are still also one of us. And that there are always boundaries whereby there's a boundary between you and our supernatural being, our God. There's a boundaries between. Once you overstep those boundaries, there will always be a consequence. And then, of course, we come into when we look at who we are, the identity. Now, Samoan identity is as fluid as a river. We adapt as we go along. But the core values that should never decay and deteriorate lies with language, with our families, whereas our chipi system, lies with our land, and lies with our tapuainga, our religion, or our spiritual existence. And these are the things that we to share with you. 100% of my students, when I ask them, will America ever leave American Samoa? The answer is no. No for all, they would never leave. Why? Oh, because of our military service, because of our harbor, because of our all those boys in the NFL, or high church or Lamont. So they say because of all this, and then even now where we have all those Samoans living off island. And then I said, well, we're living a nuclear age whereby the overturn and the changes are quite fast. You're really sure that America not going to know? And then to a point whereby one of my students said to me, what have you got against the Americans, Paolo? And I said, I have nothing against the Americans, but I have something against you for the mere fact you're not thinking. for the mere fact that because we started teaching American history from elementary all the way up, that you forget who you are. As to why there's always that powerful poem by Tatasimi that deals with learning things Palangi, not so you can be Palangi, but so you can understand the value of being Samoan. So these are some of the things that we continue to do, despite being not many people here. Now we see that we're only 47,000, but we continue to do it because really this is the core. And so when you're ready to fly out, at least you fly out knowing your Fasingamanga, that you know the story of your land. And then when you go to other places, respect the story of those particular land because it ties back to being someone that you are part of the environment. To my next slide is this is why we do it. One of the major problems that we have, it's like even on Sunday when we were doing an outreach at one of the villages in Tafunga, and when we did our debriefing with our staff, and one of our staff said to me, they look down on the work that we do. And then I said, it's okay. Usually people who think that they're better, it's not, because for us, we have to believe that this is our calling. This is our God-given right to be someone. It was already chosen. And so we must never let go of that passion. We must never let go and say we're done with our calling. We have to continue. And so that's my prayer every day, is that God, please keep in my heart the passion that I should have for Samoa. And so it's from there that when the heart is speaking, then everything can work. And also, regardless if we don't try to change the world, but the very little bit that we have, to keep at it. So despite being Samoa, living on the rock, we have our own challenges as to why this connection that we have is very important. And so with the help like I've had that with the ANA of getting funding that have allowed for the Institute to establish, and the Institute to have a mission, which is the perpetuation of our Samoa. And we do it in 4 areas, whereby one, we offer a degree in Samoan studies, we do community outreach, we do research, we do translation, and we also do publication. We have just completed yesterday, it's from the Public Health School of Yale University, that they're doing a research here in Samoa, and we have to do the translation for them. So that's what we try to do. However, we just finished our graduation on Friday, and there was no student who graduated in Samoan studies. And those are the challenges that we have, but we continue no matter what. And so there are many highlights, as I have highlighted for us and to share with you, but this is where we're. So anyway, I'm not sure what's going on, but I think I'm running out of time. Can you put on to the next one, please?
Yeah,
The
and I
last
think
one.
a couple more minutes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. See, so we continue to do so. And this is the plan that we now have in place, is that we would like to offer a Bachelor of Arts in Samoan Studies. The framework is done. The major issue is that we need more resources. As to why then being funded by the ANA with a Lo'oila Ngangana, this is where we're going out to the community and trying to gather resources, trying to gather and make people write in Samoa and to write stories, not just oral traditions, creative writing, is also biographies of elders, and even also with poems. And this is to help in making the bachelor's degree okay, that we have enough resources. Now, there's already bachelors being offered, not only with our neighboring islands, but also with New Zealand that started off with Victoria University. But the angle that the Institute is trying to do here is to gather the Tutuila and Manu'afati, or the dialect, because we do have, well, we have one language, but we have different variations of language use. And what we do know is that the Fati of Manu and Tutuila is slowly dying out. And you know, this is one thing that we would really want to record and to have it published, so that, you know, it's important that we don't lose that. It's important that we keep that. And because that will also make the bachelor's degree of Samoan Studies offered by American Samoa Community College unique, because it's also providing that particular component. So that's where we're trying to work with and praying really hard we will achieve. I'm sure Peter and Jake agree that we do need some standardization, and in especially also in providing certification with Samoan language, to teach Samoan language. The irony of it is that here in American Samoa, whereby identified 95% speak Samoan, but honestly, I don't know how proficient we are, that 95%. Whether it's just superficial, casual knowing and speaking, can we take them deeper? We don't know. It would be an awesome research component to do. What I can also tell you is that the very few 20+ students who have graduated from ASCC with a Samoan Studies degree, they are the first to be hired by DOE. And why? Because many of the teachers now fear teaching Samoan. When it comes to diacritics, when it comes to tenses, when it comes, yeah, this is where the difference of speaking and the writing part, where we need to do the grammar rules and all that comes in. So we know for a fact that this is now one need, because even with all due respect to Whaiwheau, many of these Whaiwheau no longer do what the previous were able to do, where they were able to master the writing language. But today is that we're having all these issues. So, and I know if this can come through the certification of Samoan language, it will also help us who are doing translations. You know, being approached by so many, not just locally, but also off island, in translating from Samoa to English or vice versa. And then one of the things that they ask for is this, you know, whether we have a test on, and I said, sorry, we don't. But we only know that this is one major need that we have to have, so that it's we can allow people to teach. And I know also now that we have the Samoan Language Commission just being established, and the role of it is not to dictate how it's supposed to be, but to actually connect with all those other people and programs that are trying, whereby the commission can be of assistance to all those who need. Am I done? So anyway, so I'm gonna keep on talking because I think that you guys love me. We're a little over time. There are times when you don't need to speak Samoan, but really to feel Samoan. There are many of us who don't really speak the language, but it's okay. If you feel in your heart you are, if you know who you are, then, that's what's more important. And spiritually, if we can instill that spirit in our children, then I know we've done a good job. Thank you so much for my time. Thank you, and appreciate the opportunity being provided.
Mahalo, Kenaisa. Don't worry, we can listen to you talk all day long. The small canoe made room for the two big ships. And we are just very grateful to Jake because he knows that he has some time at the end as well. We are going to move on to our next speaker today, Elisapeta Tupo Alai Maleata. Elisapeta is from both islands, Samoa and American Samoa, but she currently resides on Oahu here in Hawaii. In 2008, she founded Lefetuau Samoan Language Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, which is a community-based, one-of-a-kind nonprofit organization that provides young Samoan children outside of Samoa with the opportunity to learn their heritage, culture, and language through the efforts of community members, parents, and volunteers. She also secured ANA funding in 2016 to kickstart the Samoan Language Symposium in Hawaii, which is now becoming an international gathering of scholars of Samoan natives and Pacific Islanders all over the US and the Pacific. So please welcome Elisapeta Tupo Alai Maleata.
There's a Samoan saying, ole tiunga I matala oa e tiu mafifi. What I just mentioned, Matalaoa is an inland village of Samoa. Being that the village is so inland, when the people of the village travels to go fishing and also to go farming, every little thing they find on the way, they have to gather and take it home. Today's presence represents my people, represents my family, represents who we are as a community. I have to say, when the number was shared by ANA that we have over 200,000 Samoans living in the United States of America, we can see that there are more bodies of Samoan living outside of the island compared to the number of people that are in existence in our home. As a leader of Samoan language and advocate, I shed tears of joy and tears of happiness that we are being recognized as a community in this space. Fafitai lava moleava no. Samoan language is our source of life as the people of Samoa. It identifies who we are as a community, and it's our source of well-being. and it's our existence as people of Samoa. When I share this presentation today, I want to share on behalf of our staff, our many language and culture practitioners that have passed on, because they have contributed so many hours of their time and many years of their life working through this journey. As we say in our Samoan community, we're grateful to be selected as to represent their spirit with us and even the presence of our community at this moment. Lefetu'ao Samoan Language Center is an educational nonprofit organization based in Oahu, Hawaii. We implemented a native language preservation and maintenance back in 2013 to 2016. We were fortunate enough to receive over $700,000 award to help us start a Samoan language school, as well as developing resources with a curriculum, as well as training our teachers, our Samoan language teachers. The Hawaii implemented native Samoan language preservation maintenance was to address the deficiency in access to Samoan language education in Hawaii. Many Samoans relocate from American Samoa due to military service, financial opportunity, and other personal reasons, with Hawaii serving as a prevalent destination for Samoans in the United States. However, often Samoan language and culture quickly diminishes among Samoans residing outside the Samoan Islands, where access to courses and materials are fewer. No public schools in Hawaii offer Samoan language classes from preschool through middle school, leaving preservation of Samoan language to the family. With little access to effective curriculum, limited time while living in a state with high cost of living, a high dominance of English, and limited resources available for parents to learn themselves, Samoan families grapple with these challenges to teach the language at home. Lefetu'ao recognized this gap in Samoan learning opportunities in Hawaii. So we established the first classes back in 2008 in Honolulu, where 98% of participants had no ability to speak or understand Samoan. Since then, and through our language preservation and maintenance work, we've expanded quite a lot, and we've reached out to so many Samoan families, as well as teaching Samoan to a lot of our children here in Hawaii. Language is more than letters and sounds to communicate, but a root of core values in the Samoan culture with traditional dances, ukulele music, art, songs, and stories that impart history and connect families and individuals to a shared identity. By infusing these cultural elements into a formalized and culturally relevant Samoan language curriculum, we focus on fostering, especially among the youths, a sense of confidence and pride in Samoan heritage, as well as language acquisition skills. As one of our students noted, to be Samoan is to speak the language. And without us, like Lefetu'ao, the opportunities would not perhaps exist in Hawaii, as well as other areas in the United States. We can see it's not just about language, learning language. It's about valuing education in general. Over 200,000 Samoans live in the US. What did we do when COVID struck? we had to shift from face-to-face to online learning. We were able to see how we tried to expand our work from, the face-to-face with the children on Saturdays and even during the week. We shifted from that space to online space. As you can see, pre-COVID, we offered preschool preparation classes where we infused Samoan language and culture during the summer in order to prepare pre-kindergartners that never had preschool experiences. These children would come to the classroom with grandma and grandpa language. Why? Because they're taken care of by our grandparents at home. That is very normal for a lot of our Samoan families in the mainland. So as you can see, the pre-COVID existence gave us an opportunity to reach a lot of our children here in Hawaii. When COVID happened, it encouraged Lefetuau to offer classes online. And from there, we were able to be with children using technology and offer classes through different classes. We would offer preschool classes all the way to adult classes. We even had launga classes and so forth. So the pandemic time, we were able to, think beyond the expansion of Samoan language. So it's not just a face-to-face approach. When we started it back in 2008, we received a lot of requests from people if we can offer classes online. With limited resources that I had shared, we weren't able to do it. But when COVID happened, we didn't have any, a lot of funding, but we were able to think beyond, just the classroom, the face-to-face, but it really pushed us to offer classes online. Up until now, we still have our classes online and children are still able to attend. This is one of the first implementation that we had. It's an approach of offering a cyber learning Samoan using a cyber choir. This innovative approach enabled a lot of our students to connect with learning Samoan language through storytelling. And then at the end, they would showcases by learning a Samoan song. So as you can see, these are children from all over, from Arizona, from California, from New Zealand, and different places in the US, and some here in the state of Hawaii. They were able to connect through the language itself. So our advice to everyone that are interested and are also encouraged to develop Samoan language programs in the community, we had to be proactive. Being proactive by connecting and partnering with people that are in the community, in the university. We also have our existing Samoan language symposia. Jacob Fitzimanu and Okenaisa Fa'olo, we were the co-founders of this great scholarly gathering where we'd come and share about our work and even provide the support for those that wants to establish Samoan language programs to help our community. So we started education of Samoan language and culture when we were in the womb of our mothers. So my message to our community, we should keep the momentum going. The pandemic never stopped us. We continued. We kept the momentum going by providing and offering classes online. We still do teacher workshops, free workshops online, and we share it on social media every time. So even when our ancestors leave this earth, or when our time comes up, our language is still alive because we are still in communication with our ancestors in spirit. And my message that I would like to leave with each and every one of you, we want you to remember to always live the language. It's part of you and will continue to be part of our existence in life. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Ia manui a lava le aso mo whasausango le atu e nei tula. Tai.
Mahalo Peta. Before I introduce Jake, I just want to let everyone know that this webinar is being recorded and it will be published publicly for you all to watch later in case you need to leave on time. But we will be going a little overtime today for the Q&A. I want to give Jake as much time as he needs, and then we will get to the questions after. But this is being recorded, so you can come back and watch it later. So thank you all for being here. And our final panelist today is Jake Fitzsimonu Jr. Jake was born in New Zealand and grew up in Hawaii and Utah with a deep love of his vibrant Samoan, Chinese, Korean, and American cultures. In 2011, Jake co-founded the Samoana Integrated Language Initiative, or SAILI, which provides community language and culture classes for Samoans living in the diaspora. A former presidential commissioner, Jake has served as a director of the Asian and Pacific Islander American Health Forum, was appointed to the U.S. Census Bureau National Advisory Committee, and currently chairs the Utah Pacific Islander Health Coalition. Jake lives with his wife and their daughters in West Valley City, Utah, where he was recently reelected to the city council. So thanks for being with us today, Jake. Thank you for being patient. You can take as much time as you need.
I'm enjoying the time and the wonderful messages being shared by my big sisters today, so that the timing is not an issue at all. Ia ute whataalo whatu le pa ia ma le mamalu le avalaulia, whataile atua ma nei avanoi le so. I'm so grateful to be here. Very grateful also to acknowledge the Utes, the Shoshones, and the Goshutes, the native people of this land where I reside now, here in West Valley City, Utah. And I'm very inspired and I'm touched by the tone that was set by my big sisters today. And with that, I'm throwing out most of what I intended to say, because I think what has been spoken to my heart is asking me to speak on something different. Sharing the stage today with pioneers in the work and with powerhouses in this work, I have to start off by thanking them and all who have made efforts and who have mentored me, who have taught me this beautiful language that is such a core of my identity. Even though I'm very proud to be Chinese and Korean and American, the fact that Samoan is the language spoken to me while I was in my mother's womb makes that the language that my heart still speaks today. I believe that if I'm to share any message today, I want to speak to those who are privileged to speak fluent Samoan on behalf of those of us who are second language learners or less than perfect speakers. When we ask someone what their name is, we say Oailoingoa. Oailoingoa is translated as what is your name, but in reality, it means who is your name. And it tells us about the worldview of our ancestors. It tells us about the core of our culture and how we view humanity. We don't see people as objects, as a what, a name as a label. We see people as a who, as a living, breathing entity, as the representation of the people who we come from, and the villages and the islands that they came from, and the stories and the voyages that brought them to where they were able to raise us to the point to where we are today. And I think that in learning our language, the relevance of it in 2022, in modern urban America, or wherever we are in the diaspora, even if it's not our daily language of communication, and even if we're not fluent, just the process of learning our Samoan language strengthens our identity. It increases our confidence. There is relevance for Samoan language in our professional context, in our personal life, in our academic trajectories. And the earlier that we can teach kids to embrace that learning, the better. I'm privileged to work here in Utah with some institutions like the Mana Academy, with our Saili Language Initiative, with the University of Utah, which now has a collegiate level Samoan language classes that are being taught, in trying to develop ways to eliminate barriers for younger learners, for those who are born and raised in this context away from the island, those who are growing up in multicultural households, in bilingual households, or households where only one parent may speak Samoan and the other doesn't. We have to change, and we have to adapt, and we have to provide learning experiences for them that are relevant to this new tech world that some of us are still maybe not as comfortable with as the kids are, but we need to be looking at virtual solutions, at apps and technological ways to teach and reinforce language. I did just want to add in closing that Samoans, we, of all the people in the world that I've ever encountered, we know how to laugh. The Samoan laugh is unmistakable, and it's contagious, and it's joyous, and it's beautiful. But that laugh is two-edged, and sometimes it can become an object of ridicule. Sometimes it can discourage. Sometimes it's demoralizing, especially for young people who are learning the language, who are remembering this language. Our tongues, our facial structures, our culture, and the way we act evolved along with this language. So even if we're not fluent with it today, it's in us somewhere. And it's our job to encourage and to bring that language skill back, and to teach our young people's tongues to say these sounds once again. And so I'm asking that we be very careful and mindful of our reactions, that we always be praising their attempts, that we be accepting of their mistakes, that we be understanding, because it's very easy for us to laugh. And that laugh is a double-edged sword sometimes when it comes to our younger people learning the Samoan language. I'm grateful for this opportunity. More than helpful to connect with anybody outside of this call on any of the resources and ideas that we've had in implementing programs to teach first-time learners, to teach second language learners, to teach folks in or outside of our indigenous context here in the middle of the continent, in Utah of all places. And these models are based on the lessons that we've learned from Le Fetuau, from American Samoa Community College, and from many other mentors that we have around us, and we're happy to share. And thank you for this time. Yes,
Mahalo, Jake, and mahalo to PETA and to Okinaisa for giving of their time to be with us today. So we are going to go a little over, maybe about 15 minutes. So at this time, we'd like to open it up for questions from our audience. So if you have a question that you haven't already put in the chat or in the Q&A section, please go ahead, and we will be reading it out for our panelists to answer. You know, it's a really rare opportunity for us to have all three of them here in one virtual space. So please feel free to ask your questions. And apparently I don't move my hands enough in this conference room. So now there's no light in this room. So I'm going to hurry up. But our first question that maybe we can address and have Jake answer first and then go back down to Okinaisa is, what types of resources are on hand available for those and organizations outside of Samoa to learn the language?
Sure, I'm happy to share some of the things that we have available. Everything that we've developed is free, it's not copyrighted, it's open for anyone to take and adapt and use and extrapolate in your own communities. We have lesson plans. We have examples of our 10-week courses and how those learning objectives are set out. We do have a little bit in terms of instructor guidelines and pro tips. And we even have a website where the 101 or the beginners level lessons are actually available to anybody, and that's available at saili.org, SAILI.org, which has 10 different lessons there just for self-taught lessons and some of the syllabus and things like that. So, but yeah, happy to connect offline as well to provide a full list of some of the things that we can share.
For us here in at Lefetuao, our Facebook page is where we post a lot of our free teacher workshops or even community classes. So lefetuao.org is our website. Still needs to be updated since we don't have the funding at this time. But our Facebook page, our social media Facebook page is one of the most effective way to see when our free teacher workshops will show up. We always post it on there and we share it amongst everyone. And the email, we can send you a PDF file of all of our curriculum materials that we also share with our other partners like Saili. Feel free to send us an email at admin@lefetuao.org. Admin, I'm going to put it in the chat. Lefetuao.org. So if you send us an email, we'll be happy to send you a PDF file of all of our teacher curriculum resources. And we even have a CD, a lot of our songs that you can use. We have a YouTube YouTube page where you will access a lot of our Samoan songs that you can use with the children. That's a really great resource as well. Feel free to email us and we'll be able to send you some free materials. Yeah.
The last slide of the PowerPoint for my presentation today gives you some of the books, that we have, and of which we can, provide for whoever would like. But the turtle, with our technology and internet connection, so we're kind of slow on that. And I also, but however, just shoot us an email. I put it up the Samoan Studies Institute at amsamoa.edu. That's our email, so you can email us, and then we can give you the listings of the publications that we have, so we can assist you with the resources that needed.
Mahalo, everybody. So for those of you who asked for contact information, you can now find it in the chat. Peta, Okinaisa, and Jake all have their contact emails or their websites in the chat now. So thank you for being willing to share. We have some more questions. Peta, I think this one might be, you might be able to answer this, but also Okinaisa. The question is, the last census count, the population of American Samoa decreased by 10%. What is being done to reduce the exodus to the continental US?
Oh, okay. Is the question saying that what are we trying to stop people from moving up, or the issue with our population decrease?
I think a little bit of both. the question is just asking, with the population decreased by 10%, is anything being done to reduce any exodus movement outside of Samoa?
Yeah. It's a blessing to be a territory of the United States that gives you that choice to move. And I know also it's the irony whereby while we still have, the increase in population, natural births and whatnot, but we see a lot of the migration. And it's not just American Samoa. You will find it in many of the Pacific islands, whereby movement is important to find those greener pastures. And for American Samoa, though, it's very easy we have that choice. But if we are to speak, it's the same issue also with Samoa, where we have the brain drain migration, but it's all for opportunities and whatnot. But we will get to see many also return once retired and whatnot, because, there's always land, the connection to the land. Yeah, that can be my answer. I'm sorry if I'm not addressing what the person really wants.
I'll just add to what Lisa mentioned. I think it also comes down to the health issue. When we talk about language and culture as a source of our well-being, the existence of our programs here outside of Samoa is encouraging or empowering our people to return back to the land. And there is that connection of, that we, as we teach the language, they become connected to the community, which is home. So whenever we encourage, when we, push for education outside of Samoa, so it's a seed that is being planted within their mind and in their soul that they have to return home. So given that there are, health issues, and which is one of the reasons why a lot of people have left the island to come out, but I think eventually it will increase. I think the decrease also, part of it contributed to the time when COVID struck. When COVID happened, a lot of our Samoan people were not able to return home. So many had to take the census. I was part of the census. I worked in the census as the partnership and the community outreach here in Hawaii. And I noticed the struggle where they had to take their census here. And of course, they had to be counted here because they got stuck in the US for over a year. So so I think that the decrease of the number back home, the next census will be 2030. We want that number to increase. The increase of number, provides more resources for our community. And I think another good reason is because we need to educate our people that they need to be counted. In order for us to get the resources that we need to be counted and understand the importance of being counted. If we look at the 200,000 number of Samoans right now in the US, you multiply that, because for one person that you miss counting, you're losing about 2,500 a year. Multiply that within 10 years, that's billions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars that we're losing. And mainly because we need to be proactive, we need to be educated, and to be counted when it comes to census. I'm sorry, I'm speaking census language right now. But I am sure that number, or that decreased number, will go up again.
Thank you both. We'll move on to the next question. We have about, I would say, 7 minutes or so before we hit our end time for today. But I did want to get to some more of these questions. Okay, Naisa, there was a question that came in earlier asking if American Samoa Community College will be able to offer a BA in Samoan Studies, a bachelor's degree?
Thank you. Yes, and that's the intention. That's the 5-year plan ASCC have. ASCC already has a Bachelor of Education, and so it's now Samoan Studies. And so in the 5-year plan for our college is to be able to offer the bachelor's in Samoan Studies. And as I allude to in my presentation, though, the issue though is never on the framework, and setting it up. We already have that. The issue for myself as Director of Samoan Studies and my responsibility is that we need to build our own resources. Like on Friday when the Lieutenant Governor asked me, how's this thing coming along? And I said, it's coming along well. But God has been so kind and gave us an opportunity where we now have this funding because of the COVID. Because there's already resources out there. Like I said, there's a BA with Victoria University. There's the PhD with the Papangala. But what also makes America Samoa unique? We need that component to be brought in, and so which is why we're doing this research so that we will also have that element that yes, we're all Samoans, but also at the same time we also have our unique. Taking for example Samoans who are listening. It's the typical manua to say, if you ask a manua person, how was your emergency? And the reply would be, eko akumu, meaning there were many. But to atumu means to atele. And that particular use of Samoan language pertains only to Tutuila and Manua. But we're losing on our Tutuila Manua Fati because we have too many Upolus like myself who are over here in American Samoa. So, while American Samoa, Tutuila and Manua move to Hawaii and whatnot because it's easy, they don't need to do visa. People like myself, yeah, it's easy to move over here because I have my many ainga over here because that's always how we migrate. You have a connection. So people like Jake who are now established there, you move to where? And the church, they play an awesome role in social adaptation of our people. So where, so this movement, but that's where we're at with our bachelor's degree. It will come through, God willingly, it will come through, but we just need to get those particular, that it's what makes Tutuila and Manua unique. So, and that's my full sentence.
Mahalo, Okinaisa. There were lots, and I think we've kind of answered them through our discussion today, but a lot of the questions in the chat have been, where can people access resources outside of Samoa? And it looks like, I think Jake and Peta have provided their contact information for their organization's classes. And so that there's a lot of resource needs, and we've kind of answered them, it looks like. But one other thing that came up during, I think it came in early while Okinaisa was presenting. This kind of goes for everyone, and maybe we can start with Jake and then go to Peta and then Naisa. But why do you feel like at any time, I have to kind of rephrase the question a little bit, but why do you feel like people might look down on the Samoan language? I think a lot of native languages experience that in a Western society, and Samoa is a little different because you folks also speak Samoan in Samoa, versus other native cultures who are surrounded by and are mostly English first language speakers. So why do you feel like there might be any sort of sense of looking down on the Samoan language?
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure if I'm well equipped to answer, but my first instinct would be that I think what we may perceive as looking down may just be an expression of altered or different priorities. That when our parents, grandparents came into an English-speaking world, into a new Western society, the pressure was on to ensure that family survival depended on fluency in English and being able to adapt within an English-speaking society. And so I think that some of that may have bled into or be conflated with those who have succeeded, quote unquote, materially or financially, are often those who adapted very quickly to learning English and to becoming ingrained into American society or Western societies. And to some people, that may be seen as a measure of success and perhaps may be seen as something that was superior to being fluent in Samoan and being able to operate in the Samoan context as well. To me, I think the epitome or the apex of that is being able to walk in both worlds and being able to adapt in both spaces and be comfortable. But perspectives are different depending on who you ask.
For me, I would say that that has been the past perspective. I remember growing up, if I speak English, people might, people look at me as being a smart person because I can speak English. English was so foreign back then. Right now, English, everything is dominantly English all over. So at this moment in Hawaii, when I see it, speaking Samoan is very luxurious. Like it's very unique that even at the store, when you hear a child speaking Samoan or a child that just moved in Hawaii and going around with the mom and dad speaking Samoan, with the cart, we're following them. My children would be like, mom, they're speaking Samoan. Can we, it becomes, I would say, a very important element of ourselves. I mean, it should be already an important part of who we are as a people. But, as we practice and we try to dominate the existence of the space with our language, I don't see why people have to look down, because I don't, I always see, speaking Hawaiian or even Samoan here in Hawaii is a strong thing. It's a very unique thing that, when people speak Hawaiian as well here in Hawaii, we're so amazed by it. We love it. And I think it's that keeping that momentum going, just like what Okinaisa said, tautalapea, mawhaipea. Yeah, that's how it is. Right now, it's dominantly English, but we need to speak our language so that it comes back. It's alive again.
Yeah. Because it was mentioned by myself or with that, and the answer lies with what is close to your heart. And many times you take it for granted. So if there was ever a better word of putting it out, the looking down, it's because, that's how we're also very proud people, and that we still continue to think that, so when we do these outreaches, like, I thought you guys are going to talk about something. You're talking about Samoa, but this is the correct Samoa, that kind of. So it's taking it for granted. It's taking language that because for us here on the rock, because we speak Samoan, it's supposed to be natural that you speak Samoan. But the reality of things is that we're not. And I recalled, thankfully now that we now have accepted the Samoan Language Commission. But it was about 10 years ago when we were brought into the Senate, looking at the bill on having both English and Samoa for instructional with school. The Senate just looked at us and it said, they're saying it's a given. If you speak English to teaching your students in English, you see that the kids don't get it, automatically speak Samoan. But what we're trying to get it from here with the reality of what it's like, but yeah, that would be nice if we go on paper, because there are also many teachers who are not fluent anymore in Samoan. What we take for granted is what it is. So, and then that's the issue as to why we have this kind of perspective with, when it comes to Samoans, it's like, oh, come on, give us something else. That's my understanding of looking down and my answer to it. Thank you.
Thank you all. We actually have come up to our time, but I actually think everybody answered pretty much all of the questions, even the clarification to how I rephrased that. So thank you all. I want to thank our panelists for joining us today and all of you for joining us and for staying back for the question and answer. If any of you need help connecting with either the panelists or just need help when it comes to working, how best to work with our Pacific communities, feel free to contact our office. Our contact information is on the slide and Chisa has it in the chat. And we will be sending out the recording of this webinar probably sometime next week. So you can take a look out for that, keep an eye out for that. So again, mahalo nui to all of you and to all of our panelists. Thank you so much for joining us today. And that concludes our webinar.
Hi, Tilly.
Hi, Lava. Hello.
Alo, fasua.
Hey.
Fasua.
Rosia, awal ko kakalo ay makani welo, alang lela makani ako kau kani ayaw. Ay kani mo ilo peka.
If I edit, is it
I'm so proud of you. That was very powerful, and it just threw me off track from